So there are some pretty harsh conditions or harsh environments on Earth. There's places where it's really wet, places where it's really dry, places where it's high up, high altitude, low altitude. But in fact, you'll find living things or organisms all over the place. And animals in particular, I find really interesting to look at because they've got some amazing adaptations that enable them to survive where they live. And there's three good examples that I've got here. So the first one is the Australian bilby. It's basically a little mammal and it lives in the desert. It forages for food and it lives in a burrow. But the most interesting thing about the bilby is that it doesn't even have to drink water. It basically never drinks water. How does it survive? Well, the bilby is in fact able to get all of the water it needs from the food it eats. It uses water so efficiently that it doesn't need to drink. And that's a really amazing adaptation that helps the bilby survive in the harsh desert conditions of Australia. Another example of an animal which has got an amazing adaptation to enable it to survive is the thorny devil here. So the thorny devil has also got this amazing adaptation which evolved over millions and millions of years to enable it to survive. And that is that it's in fact got these spikes all over it. That's why it's called the thorny devil. But it's got these tiny grooves all over its body. And when water either falls on it, on the rare instance that it does in the desert, or more often when water condenses on its body in the morning. So if you go out in the morning and there's a little bit of moisture on the grass, that's called condensation. And it's just water from the air. So when condensation or water from the air forms on this thorny devil, it's got these tiny grooves all over its body, and all of those grooves run all that water into its mouth. So one of the ways that the thorny devil drinks is basically collecting water on its body, and that helps it to survive in the really dry conditions of the desert. And that's just an amazing animal. The third animal I'll talk about, which has got heaps and heaps of adaptations to enable it to survive, is the camel. So the camel's not actually native to Australia, but it was brought over here and it has got some amazing adaptations that enable it to survive in the desert. So I'll go through a couple of them. The first one is that the camel's actually got these beautiful long eyelashes, and the long eyelashes are basically to enable it to keep sand out of its eyes in the desert if there's a sandstorm. So that's a great thing to enable it to survive. Another amazing adaptation of the camel is that it's got nostrils that it can actually close. So if things are really windy and sandy, it just closes its nostrils so no sand goes up its nose. And that's an amazing thing for an animal to be able to do. The biggest adaptation that most people think of when they think of a camel is they think of its hump. Its hump is not full of water, contrary to what some people believe. It's actually full of fat. So it's just a fat store. And basically having a storage of fat enables the camel to survive for long periods in the desert, maybe when it's not able to find much food or water. Another thing that the camel has that enables it to survive is it's actually got some fur here, lots of fur. And what that does is it gets really cold in the desert at night, so it makes it warm at night, but it also ensures that it stays cool during the day. So it's got this amazing fur and underwool coat, which enables it to survive in the desert. And the last thing that a camel has to help it to survive is it's got these beautiful lips here, and they're really thick lips, and they enable the camel to chew down on some pretty tough thorny plants that grow in the desert. So the camel has in fact lots of different adaptations that enable it to survive in its environment.